Well, thank you, Matt, thank you, Mercy, thank you, everyone. Thank you to my hero, Tim Ballard. Gracias, hermano. I met this American hero 8 years ago in Los Angeles, California. And I told Alejandro Monteverde, my business partner, mi compadre, you have to meet this guy. He's a real hero. And we both met with him and his friends 8 years ago. And when we learned what he was doing with his friends, traveling around the world undercover, rescuing children who were kidnapped for sexual exploitation. And when he explained to us in details what these kids are going through, I couldn't sleep. I was in shock. Yes, on one hand, I was inspired by this true American hero. But on the other hand, I couldn't sleep. I was in shock, I was depressed. But at the same time, I couldn't look the other way around either. And he looked at me, he looked at Alejandro, and he told us, yes, it's very sad what I'm telling you guys. It's very sad. But you know, it's more sad now that you know it if you do nothing. What are you going to do? Well, we are filmmakers. We have a weapon of mass instruction and inspiration, film, movies. We put pause in everything that we were doing so we can dedicate our lives to end child trafficking with him and his friends and many other organizations. So this has been 8 years of our lives working in this film, blood, tears, a lot of obstacles. 8 years of our lives for 2 hours of your time, and I hope this film will touch your heart and millions of hearts when it comes out July 4th. Thank you, hermano. God bless you.
So we're going to move right to the panel. We'll keep it tight because obviously we want to be respectful of the time and we want to get to the movie as well. But I am completely honored to introduce some of our wonderful guests. Tim Ballard, come join us. We're going to be talking about the film. He is the inspiration behind this incredible story as a former federal agent and now doing so much work in the human trafficking space, which we'll get into. And obviously Eduardo's joining us, and Jim Caviezel is joining us as well. Where's Jim? Did we lose Jim? Is he coming? Oh, there he oh. They surprised me. They never told me that you were coming from the back, but it's an honor to have you. I mean, seriously, this is like huge to have Jim with us. And it's truly an honor that you're with us. Let's get to some great questions here. I'll start with you, Tim. You're now running this incredible organization. And what have you found in your experience in what you have done, and you know, what has to be done in order to solve this problem about human trafficking?
Well, first, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Eduardo, Jimmy, Angel Studios. We're honored to be here, and we're just grateful. And really, that is the answer. You are the answer. We've been fighting this for so long, and no one wants to talk about it. It was so hard, my 12 years in the government, doing this work, with so many bureaucratic limitations. You're going to see in the film that depicts what happened. And then no one even knowing about it. You couldn't Google child trafficking and find anything that would tell you anything. I mean, no one was talking about it. I learned something from history that's really important. This is slavery. This is modern day slavery, but slavery existed in this country. What a horrific thing that this was permitted to be in our land for 350 years, the transatlantic slave trade. And it's hard to understand why, but the more important question is, how did it end? It ended because people got loud. It didn't end because of Abraham Lincoln right away. It didn't end because of the original Underground Railroad that we try to emulate. They did what they could. We did what we can. We can rescue the one, the tens, even the thousands. We've rescued over 7,000 in our organization. I also run something called the Nazarene Fund. You know, heard of the Nazarene Fund? Glenn Beck founded the Nazarene Fund. I'm the CEO there, and we're working to rescue persecuted Christians, mostly through the Middle East, Africa, and other places. But we only can rescue the thousands, and that's awesome. It's worth it. But how do you end it? Abraham Lincoln tells you how it ended. He admitted it wasn't him. When Harriet Beecher Stowe, the great storyteller of the 19th century, who wrote the book that joined her voice with the other abolitionists, when Lincoln met her, he said to her, so you're the little lady that wrote the big book that started this war. And what he meant by that was, I wasn't even clear what this war was about. God would tell him later, but largely through the voices of the abolitionists, through the voices of Harry Beecher Stowe and others. And so that's what rescued millions, was that the storytellers who got loud and shifted the foundations of the government. There's 5 drug agents to every 1 anti-child trafficking agent in this country. That's our problem. It's time to switch that. You only switch that when you get loud. These 2 guys, they are the Harry Beecher Stowes of our generation. They're going to rescue way more than we ever going to rescue. And that's why I'm so grateful for this film. And the good news is you all are storytellers. Everyone in this room can be a storyteller. That's what ends slavery.
Elijah, you were inspired to move on this important production. How did you come up with the concept? How did you make this film a reality?
Well, as I mentioned before, meeting Team Battle with Alejandro Monteverde. Alejandro Monteverde, I don't know where is he, but he is an amazing filmmaker from Mexico. We're from Tamaulipas, northern Mexico, below Texas. And this guy, if he's not here, is better, because then I can say this. He's like this Picasso, Michelangelo, crazy artist. He's a genius, but the best part, he doesn't know it. We keep him humble. So when I told Alejandro, we started this production company many years ago. The first movie that I produced and he directed was Bella, a little movie that has changed the lives of so many people, including my own life. This movie is responsible for saving thousands of babies from abortion. And until today, I still receive letters and emails from women who were pregnant and scheduled to have an abortion, and after seeing the movie Bella, by the grace of God, they changed their mind and they kept their babies. So then after that, Alejandro and I, we made another movie called Little Boy. And then after that, I met this guy. And I told Alejandro, you have to meet this American hero. And when Alejandro met him, brother, let's make a movie about his life. Now, it's very difficult to make a movie about this guy's life. Why? Because you need a TV series for like 200 episodes. Because his life is fascinating, it's amazing. So Alejandro and I, we asked him, how many rescue missions you have done in your life? He said, well, many, hundreds. What's the most difficult, the most dangerous, the most successful rescue mission you ever done in your life? And he said, without a question, the first one, Cartagena, Colombia. So he told the story to Alejandro, who wrote the script, and then Alejandro asked him, and how ended? How the whole thing ended? And he says, well, it was this beautiful island. The children were crying in tears. They were singing, celebrating their freedom. It was like this beautiful sound of freedom. That's the movie, that's the title, that's what you're going to see. It was hard not to be involved in this movie when you meet a real hero like Tim Ballard. And my hope is that when you see the movie, when the movie finished, you leave the theater not only entertained, but hopefully you will ask yourself the same question I asked myself 8 years ago when I met them. What can I do to end this nightmare? As a filmmaker, as I said, we have a weapon of mass instruction and inspiration. We can raise awareness with this film. You have talents that I don't have. God created us with a mission, very particular mission, that nobody else can do this mission but you or me. It depends on us. If we want to be faithful to this mission that we're created for and use the talents that God gave us to glorify Him and to serve others so we can make this world a better place, or ignore it. So I hope that when you leave the theater, you will ask God, how can I use the talents that you gave me to bring freedom back to the children that are not free right now as we speak? So that's how we were inspired to do this film. But let me tell you something, the most difficult part was the actor.
Really? Tell me about the actor.
Who do you want to play you?
So did Tim have a say or no?
Oh, yes.
Oh, he did?
He said Jesus Christ. No. That's impossible, brother. No, the guy who plays Jesus Christ. Oh, okay. that we can do.
Let me tell you what happened. This is important.
No, I want to
Before you intro Jimmy.
Because you might have to intro him, because it's like too much.
Well, let me tell you what happened. So I didn't think these guys were serious. All the research told me that 3% of movies that begin in concept make it to the big screen. So they came to me and they hooked me up to an audio device in a basement in a cabin in Park City, Utah, and made me cry for 3 days and just tell you all these stories. And And then I came back and had this concept. So 2 years later they show up. We're gonna film in like 6 months.
Right.
I don't know how this works. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Well, someone has to play. This is a question you never think someone's gonna ask you. Who do you want to play you in the film? You don't get to choose, but you can give your idea. I said, well, that's Jim Caviezel. Done. I didn't even think anything.
Wow.
And they actually said, well, he's a great actor. There's no better actor, but there's a cool trick at the end of the film. I won't give it away, but there's a transitional thing where you see real footage. You're gonna see real footage from the actual, because we film most of our operations. And they said, you need someone, he's tall, dark, and handsome, you know, you're short, squatty gringo, like, it's gonna be a tough transition to make. And I said, I don't care about that, you can figure out in the makeup room. I said, and in the end, they didn't do it bad. You'll see, they didn't do that bad. I mean, I don't know, you can decide. You can decide if they did a good job. But this is important to me, like, and I don't want to offend anyone, I just say what I believe, and I don't think this...
Oh, you fit perfectly with this.
Okay. This is Hollywood knocking. I don't really know these guys that well. One of the main reasons I'm even in business is because Hollywood creates content that creates the demand for all of this. So it's a very weird world we're walking through. And we turned down a bunch of offers from major studios when they heard about this story. And we're just like, no, I'm not going to, shake hands with that kind of thing, right? The devil. I know it's offensive, whatever. Not everyone in Hollywood, okay, but anyway. And so he says, I said it has to be Jim Caviezel, one, because The Count of Monte Cristo and The Passion are the two best movies ever made, first. And second, I know that he may be in Hollywood, but he's not of Hollywood. And I know Jim Caviezel loves Jesus. And that was it. Like, that's the main reason, because this story has to embody, has to emanate, has to push out light. And so they oh, and one other thing. Why did I say that? Because we go into dark places. You'll see in this film, we do crazy crap. And it's scary, and I'm scared, but the only thing that doesn't make me scared is one scripture in the Bible. And how appropriate I get to say this in the Bible Museum. One scripture in the Bible that I think we take for granted. It's the one time that Jesus gets mafioso in his language. Like violent. It's Jesus, so it's righteous, but it's violent. And I'm not talking about flipping over tables at the temple. He says one time, he uses the most violent terminology. If you dare hurt one of these children, better than a millstone be thrown about your neck, and you cast to the bottom of the sea. That's like cement shoe mafioso stuff. And he didn't say that, he said what's going to happen to you is worse than that. He didn't say that's going to happen to you. Something worse. So I need that scripture because I know where he stands. And if we're going to go into dark places, I know where he is. He's going to be with us. And what's so cool is that line never made it into the script. But you'll see I'm not going to give it, you'll see it. Jim, true to form, I didn't tell him this. He said that line, ad-libbed that line into one of my favorite scenes. And it wasn't in the script. And when he said that line, you're going to see how powerful it is. It's one of my favorite scenes. I mean, chills thinking about it.
Jim, this is the longest introduction for you.
With that, I introduce to you,
Thank you,
Mr. Jim Caviezel.
I'm just going to let you speak because we're so in awe that you're here with us, and we're so honored that you're with us because not only so many of us, how many of you have watched The Passion? I mean, it's life-changing. And to know that you really made this incredible role. See, I'm introducing him again. I'm not going to introduce him. Jim, go. Tell us about you.
Action.
Please.
Testing. Well, like The Passion, this was really difficult. That one was more because lightning strike, heart surgeries, and all that. But this one is now. And what I mean by that is, had Schindler's List been made during 1935 or 42, things would have changed. That's the weapon that film has. But this is now, because they were going to a lot of other actors, and they didn't want to do that. And when I read this script, as dangerous as it was
a battled hero that I would have loved to have played. You know, I was talking to someone earlier about It's a Wonderful Life. Jimmy Stewart flew 26 missions over Germany. He was a commander. And what a lot of people don't realize is that when you're the commander, everybody has to come in silent. Nobody can talk. They have to listen to his orders. All of the planes in the formation. One of his XO officers said the damage it does to you to hear 8 men in a B-17 going down, you hear them scream. And you gotta stay on target. And that would have haunted you for the rest of your life. When I watch It's a Wonderful Life, here's a man that's going to commit suicide. Here's a man that in one scene where Capra moves the camera and Jimmy Stewart improvises this line and he says, "Dear God, if you're out there, please help me." And he's just weeping, probably a lot of the suffering of the PTSD. After I saw what Tim did, I realized that I don't know how anybody could do this, and they can't. They have to have Almighty God in their heart. He definitely does. Like David, King David, that couldn't stand to hear people speaking things about his Lord and Savior. And so he came down and he fought Goliath, and he basically, a 16-year-old ordered them what to do, and he took that beast down. But he'd rather be dead than to let them talk about his father that way. How is it that we don't defend our faith now? How is it that we won't defend our republic, our inalienable rights? That's why we're not a democracy. That's why we are a republic, but it's dying. But since we're going to let that happen, because we don't have a south border now. By definition, you have to have a border. Okay? We don't have a south border. It's going to take you and people like Tim Ballard that are willing to say, "By God, not on my watch. I'm going to kill my Goliath. I need you to kill your Goliath. I need you to go out there and help get us screens like you've never seen, like you did on the Passion of the Christ." See, we're selling out, but we're running out of time, and we don't have the theaters that we need. So what'll happen is a family like you will go in, family of 5, you come to the theater and Sound of Freedom is sold out. Most people just go, "Okay, well, I'll give my money to Disney, Indiana Jones." I need you to call them. I need you to do everything you did like you did on the Passion of the Christ. I need you to do that. And however you do it, you know, you call your friends, you tell them we got to go out and get a theater, whatever. That's how you do it. You tell your friends this, because we want to shine a light on this. This is the most brutal, ugly thing I've ever seen or can imagine. It took me 2 years to get over this. I don't know how this saint does it. But it takes nothing short of a saint to do it. California right now, we're going to pass a law where you can kill a baby 27 days after it's born. How does that save the mother's life? You see, we've become so immune to it, we don't even think about it. And they have all these laws, these pedophile laws. Pedophiling our children. I don't care about my career. I don't even care about my life. I care about God's children, and they are not for sale.
I'd like to bring to the stage an incredible person, someone who is inspiring all of us, who has taken on Hollywood, the CEO of Angel Studios, Neil Harmon. Neil, I don't want to give you a long introduction to that. You're amazing. How many of you watched The Chosen? Yeah. I mean, it is truly, if you haven't watched it, you've got to. It's again, life-changing. So walk us through, why was it so important to you to support this film, The Sound of Freedom?
First of all, it's because at Angel Studios, our company's named after all the people who invested in our company, in The Chosen, in Drive Our Comedy, Tuttle Twins, the mini shows. These people, our angel investors, come and they make these shows possible. And they get to decide what's next. And so when Sound of Freedom came to Angel Studios, the first thing we did was we sent it out to the Angel Guild, all these previous investors, and said, do you want us to take this to the theaters? And their yes was so resounding that we knew this was the next project for us. And it was a miracle that brought us together. This movie's been in the making for 8 years. It's been made for almost 5. And there have been all kinds of roadblocks that have been thrown in its way. And the rights to distribute the film have gone through many hands. And I think they came to ours roughly 90 days ago, right, Eduardo? So, for perspective, if you know anything about Hollywood, the biggest blockbusters in the world release in the summertime, right around the July 4th. And it's not a time when you release a film, if you're an independent film, you'll get crushed. And we decided to release this film on September 15th. And the morning after we made that decision, it was very clear that that was not the decision that should be made. And we just knew that this needed to be released on July 4th. And that the doors would be open if we just stepped forward in faith. And we did. We made the decision to go and try to bring this to the theaters. And within 24 hours, we were at Cinemark, presenting the movie in front of a couple dozen people. And they heard we wanted to launch it on July 4th, and they said, that's nuts. And then after they watched the movie, they said, we're behind you. Then AMC. Then Regal, who's in bankruptcy and can't release an independent film into more than 45% of its theaters. By a miracle, it's in every theater. Now, there's a lot of independent theaters whose livelihood was so affected by COVID, and they carry lots of debt. And they're scared of the studios because the studios produce the stories that generate their ticket sales. Some of these independent theaters have struggled to have the faith to just walk out into the dark and say, let's give this a shot. That's why Jim is inviting us to get involved and let them know that we need this to happen. The reason that we need it to happen is because just in the same way that September 15th wasn't the right date, it needed to be July 4th. We also need the entire world to wake up. And what better place for that waking up to occur than right in the center, the highest consumption of child trafficking. That's the United States of America. It's Washington, D.C. But there are people here, all of you are here tonight, and we're here tonight because we want to launch this film. And we want to tell the world that no, that this isn't the way that things should be. And we can shine a light on this dark reality and expunge it from the earth. So God is helping us. I've just seen miracle after miracle. This is not us. And when this succeeds, it will be because of the angels on heaven and on earth. So thank you for supporting this project. And thank you.
I do want to do a kind of quick round robin with them and then just kind of get what anticipating what their favorite part of the movie is or one part that really impacted you. Tim. Without giving too much.
Yeah, there's a lot of action scenes, and you think I'd go to that, and I don't go to that. I go to the scene that was actually the scene, I think, that got the Angel Guild converted. And it's Bill Camp's the actor. He plays a guy called Vampiro. His real fake name is Batman, but DC Comics wouldn't let them use the name, so I named him that. He's a crazy character. He's real. The story he tells you is going to blow your mind. And Bill Camp deserves an Academy Award just for that moment. He's sitting at the table. He's across from Jim, who's playing me, obviously, and we got some bad news, and we thought the op was going to be over, and And Jim says, "Who are you anyway? Why are you doing this? You used to run drugs for the cartels. What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" And that's when he leans over the table and gives a speech which is a real thing that happened. This man he had that conversion, that Damascus Road conversion. And he tells me something. And I don't want to say what he says. I just want you to take it in organically. But I want you to look into Jim's eyes. Jim, when Alejandro said we need an actor that says more with his eyes than his mouth, that's this guy. Because he lets the Spirit come in. And he'll talk to you through his eyes. Just do me a favor, watch Jim's eyes when Bill Camp tells him the crazy story that happened to him, his conversion to Jesus and his conversion to fighting human trafficking, and then look at Jim's eyes. And that's the answer. What's coming out of his eyes is what you need to hear. If you take nothing else away, it's what he's going to tell you in that moment.
Eduardo, I do want to bring up Rosy. I just want her to stand out. She took us to the safe houses in Mexico with Jack Posobiec, where we visited these young girls and boys from the ages of 9 to 18 who were victims of human trafficking. And I just want Eduardo to quickly just explain why we went there, and thank you for taking us there during CPAC Mexico.
Well, actually, I would love Rosy to come here and just tell us what you're doing, because you're the hero that are behind helping these girls who are broken. We're talking about girls who have been raped thousands of times, and this lady that is coming here is dedicating her entire life to help these little girls and change their lives. So thank you, Rosy.
The movie is so good that really it's God who has made all this work. When you are listening to this movie, when you watch this movie, I'm sorry, my English, I'm so excited because the movie is fantastic. We were dreaming on having this because we need a blank page. Think about a blank page. Every victim needs to be rescued and to have a new life, like Jesus said to Nicodemus. It's needed to have a new life, a new beginning. So thank you, because this movie is going to inspire the people. And the only thing I did when I heard the testimony of one girl was to do something. So I challenge you, do something. Help the children.
What Rosy doesn't tell you, she was a legislator in Mexico, and the human traffickers and drug cartels threatened her life. So she had to leave Mexico because she passed the strongest penalties against human traffickers in Mexico. So this is what we're doing. She's a true hero.
God bless you, Rosy. Dios te bendiga, Dominica. I want to say something really quick, because the other day I sent this message to like thousands of friends, and where I said this movie has already saved many children already, and they were like, "What do you mean the movie hasn't come out yet? How the movie saved children already?" So when I asked him, "Who do you want to play you?" and he said, "Jim Caviezel," and I text Jim Caviezel.
Eduardo, were you insulted that he picked Jim over you?
I'm sorry.
Were you insulted he picked Jim over you?
No. So I thought he was going to answer the typical Hollywood actor answer, right? Talk to my manager, send the script to my agents, whatever, right? No, let's meet tonight. So Alejandro and I went to meet with Jim. Alejandro pitched the story to him. He starts crying. And he says, "Guys, this is more personal to me than for you guys. I just need to talk to my wife." So he talks with his wife the next day, and he calls me, "Eduardo, but you know, my wife just saw Narcos on Netflix, Narcos Colombia on Netflix, and she doesn't want me to go to Colombia to film this movie because she thinks it's a little dangerous there. So is there any way we can film this movie somewhere else? Let me talk to Tim." So Tim, I have a good news and a bad news. Look how God works. Look how the bad news became the greatest news ever. But at that time, I thought it was a bad news, right? So the good news is Jim Caviezel is in. The bad news, she saw Narcos Colombia on Netflix, and she doesn't want him to go there. What can we do? And he's thinking and thinking. And, well, tell them if 30 ex-Navy SEALs will be enough to protect him. So I passed the message. So we're in Colombia filming, right? And the first 3-4 weeks of the filming, half of them were not on set. So I didn't know he noticed that, but he didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. So he didn't say anything, so we're pretending like we don't know what's going on. But I know, as a producer who is on set, half of these guys are not on set, and this is the third week, what's going on? On the fourth week, I'm reading a local newspaper from Colombia that it says that the Colombian government arrested traffickers and rescued 200 children who were kidnapped for sexual exploitation in Cartagena, Colombia. So I wrote to see this guy, brother, look, like in the movie. And he smiled and he said, that was us. What do you mean? Those guys were on set. We did an undercover operation. We gave all the credit to the Colombian government because we still need to be here for 5 more weeks, so we're undercover, right? We're extras, supposed to be, we're extras in the movie. And I'm thinking like, thank God for Jean Caviezel's wife, who said no in the beginning. Because of her, this guy, God used him to be inspired to give him 30 ex-Navy SEALs, and because of those 30 ex-Navy SEALs, half of them rescued 200 children before the film was even finished. Film. Thanks be to your wife and thanks be to God.
We'll bring your wife next time, Joe. Jim, just what was the hardest part of doing this movie and yet the hopeful part of doing this movie?
The hardest, well, it's like the passion, it's a paradox. Why would you want to watch a movie about this guy who's getting, I mean, you saw the scourging scenes and everything, why would you want to watch that? So there's got to be something that bypasses the mind and goes into the heart, and this one does that. And I want to say my favorite scene in this movie is the film that Alejandro, the brilliant director, the film that he made.
And what you tell those you love.
All right, let's make this happen. We want to thank Carrie and Gail Hargrave, Carrie Mr. Hargrave runs the Museum of the Bible. Thank you. Are they here? I would love to say, stand up, please. These are the heroes. They are so brave. They are so brave to have this incredible facility that brings the Bible to life. And I know right now that God is looking down at all of us and smiling. So let us get this movie going. All right, let's get started.